So I was on the forum earlier. Chris B popped up an advert for an Avengers Infinity Quest, a pro version, completely pimped up, all yellow powder coating, looked lovely. And actually, I've played the machine, sold now. And on the thread, somebody popped up and he said, "Hold on, I might be bringing mine to Pinfest, and I might even sell it." Well, surely this can't be right. Two Avengers coming, they're like buses, aren't they? Avengers. We're going to bring in the guy now who possibly might be selling his Avengers Infinity Quest if he's drunk. Wayne.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, I saw that thread, and I actually own an Avengers Infinity Quest Pro. I also own a Jurassic Park Stern. What I actually commented on was the fact that someone previously said, "Oh, I would have bought that, but I've just bought a Jurassic Park." Then the next guy on there said, "I want first dibs on your Jurassic Park." The comment I put was replied straight to him, "I might sell my Jurassic Park." Because I don't want to go on someone else's thread saying, "Oh well, I've got an Avengers for sale. I'll do for 6,400." So it was about Jurassic Park. It wasn't about Avengers particularly. And then someone else has put on, "Oh, your inbox is about to explode." Yeah, I've had 4 emails. I've had 4 messages in the last 15 minutes.
Have you?
3 of them for Avengers and 1 for Jurassic Park.
Amazing. Well, you got a decision to make.
It's not that I particularly want to sell it as such. It's the fact that there's new machines coming along. I've realistically only got room for 3 machines. I could squeeze more in, but you need to keep it semi-respectable. And also, I haven't got the funds for more machines. So one's got to go to fund the next one.
Which is
so
what?
I thought, right, well, I'm hoping it's going to be Godzilla by Keith Elwin. That's the rumor that's out. There's all kinds of different rumors coming from different people, and it's who you believe or who you don't. Yeah, I won't say any more, but all the gossip and rumors are on the forum anyway. There's Rush, Godzilla, and Back to the Future. Out of those, I'm not really a great lover of any of the themes.
Sure.
But it's Keith Elwin, the designer. He's done 3 machines so far. Iron Maiden, Jurassic Park, and Avengers. And I've been lucky enough to have... They've been my only 3 new in-box purchases ever. Because I played it at Iron Maiden, I played it at the show, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I ignored literally every other machine in the competition. In the whole show, it was just, I want to play this again, I want to play this again, I want to play this again. And it was just as good when I got it home.
Do you think he took it to another level? Do you think he's taken game design to another level, Elwin?
I think, yeah. I think what he brings is new designs. Iron Maiden was his first one, and it was previously a homebrew one that he was doing himself on the theme Archer, which I haven't a clue about. So he's been working on this for years and all little ideas in his head. So when it comes to design a machine, it's completely fresh. A lot of the other designers, especially at Stern, seem to regurgitate the same playfields over and over again with a couple of little tweaks. I mean, some of them don't even bother with the tweaks. Steve Ritchie, great designer, but too many of his machines are similar. Same with Pat Lawler as well. You get the feeling that if you played one, you know where all the shots are. Whereas each of Elwin's 3 games are just completely different. What he also brings as being a top player, probably the best ever. He knows that you need the rules and the different variations in how to play a machine. There's certain machines, I mean, Medieval Madness, vaunted as one of the greatest games ever. I can't stand it. Well, it's not I can't stand it. I get bored with it. Different machines suit. This is going to sound really arrogant. Different machines suit different people's skill levels.
100%.
I would be annoyed if having that kind of era machine home for a week, I hadn't completed and got to wizard mode. For me, that's why I play the machine, to beat the machine. And the score is just an add-on, a side thing that comes along with that. Adam's Family is another one. Half a dozen games I'd expect to have toured the mansion. And I've played it at a high score competition, and I've toured the mansion 5 or 6 times on the machine for over an hour. It was nice to win, and it was Craig that beat his score. Unfortunately, he couldn't have another go because he was in the final and had already been knocked out of the main competition. So I had to take something off him. But yes, so to me, that's what it's about. Iron Maiden has got various different mini wizard levels, which different skill levels can achieve, and that'll be their goal, basically. My goal on Iron Maiden was to get to the Run to the Hills, the final wizard.
Did you do it?
No. It's one of maybe 4 games that I've never got to the final wizard.
Well, we need to hear him. You need to tell us now.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Stern, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
I've got to 4 Winds multi-ball by completing the compass, but that's not the wizard mode. You need to, I'm not even entirely certain what you need to do, but you need to do it all in multi-ball. So I've never done that, and that annoyed me. The ultimate wizard on Jurassic Park, I haven't got to either, which is not only get to the 3 mini wizard modes, but complete each of them as well. And then you get to escape Nublar, then you escape Nublar, and then you get a 6-ball timed multi-ball mode when dinosaurs ruin the earth. So I haven't got to that, but I haven't sold Jurassic Park yet.
No.
Despite the messages in my inbox.
So that indicates that you have got to wizard mode in Avengers Infinity Quest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the 4th game that you haven't?
I can't remember, if I'm being genuinely honest. For machines which I've actually owned and had in the house, I haven't. Some of the ones I have got to, which people say, oh, the one that's always talked about is Valinor.
Yeah.
In Lord of the Rings. To me, that's not hard to get to. It takes a long time, but all of the components you need to get to, they store the memory from multi-ball to multi-ball. So as long as you can keep starting the multi-ball, you're going to hit the shots and get there. It's ones where you've got a multi-ball and you've got to hit all the shots. And if you don't do it, you lose all your progress and you've got to start from scratch. So I've done Valinor, I've done Encore and AC/DC. And that would, a lot of the Stern wizard modes, to get to the wizard mode, you need to focus on getting to the wizard mode.
Sure.
It's not about the way you'd normally play in competition or even at home for score. You need to focus on aiming for the wizard mode. Batman Dark Knight's a prime example. The way you'd normally play it is your multi-balls and maybe pick up a few bits and bobs here or there. But because getting one of the targets, Lucius, means you keep having to hit the center ramp and roll over the mini playfield on the right, and every 3rd shot it diverts away from it, it's a real pain in the neck. You've literally got to shoot that non-stop, and it takes 40 plus shots just on that one shot. And it's really boring to play. There's no fun in doing it, but it's the fact that I'm that stubborn. No, someone's coded it in there. I am going to get there and see it. it's just come back to me. X-Men. Although I haven't owned it, I've played a lot of X-Men, and I haven't got to the end.
You feel you should have done for the amount you played it.
Yeah, it's one of those where you just need everything to go right.
Actually, just thinking about what you're saying, and I do wonder if Elwin has completed Jurassic Park, because that would be an irony, of course, if he hadn't completed his own game.
He must have done it. One of the other top players in the States is Escher Leshkov. He won the World Championship when he was 13 or 14. He might even have been younger. And he streams a lot. And he'll go, right, I'm going to do a live stream tonight. And tonight I'm going to get to when dinosaurs rule the earth. And he does. Just like that. I've put up some streams on YouTube. I bought all the rig and everything. And then discovered that my laptop isn't actually powerful enough to live stream. So I've had to just record it. And the number of times it's, right, okay, I'll start off a stream, introduction, right, this is Jurassic Park, we're going to get to Museum Mayhem now. Plunge the ball, drain.
Yes, of course.
So restart, right, so to now I'm going to get to, and after 7 or 8 times, it's, right, okay, move the rig over to a different machine, have a play with that. Some of them I've done first time, but most not. But it looks good. You don't want all of those.
Yeah.
The mistakes at the start.
No. On a much smaller level, I've had to say myself. Funny enough, I want to do a couple more, but I need to get a cable. There's a cable I can record the Spike 2 screen and capture that rather than having a camera on it. So I need to source one of those from somewhere. Anyway, you have a Guinness World. Sorry, say again.
Sorry, I was going to say, when you do source that cable, I'll have.
Well, it's a rumor.
I'll have one as well.
I don't know if it's true.
No, it is there, but it needs all kinds of different boards and stuff. There's a whole thread on it on Tilt forums, which is where all the US competition players basically speak and get involved. But it's above my technical ability.
Yeah, might be.
As has been seen from how long it took us to get this set up this afternoon.
It was fun. It was fun. Okay, so we've got a Guinness World Record behind you. We've got lots of trophies with some beer bottles as well. Tell us about the Guinness World Record.
Right, the Guinness World Records. I see you put the logo in the top corner of the prostate cancer. Basically, my dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer 7-8 years ago. And come as a bit of a shock because I didn't really know much about it. So looked into what the causes were and symptoms and cures and whatever. And basically found that it's very, very common, especially in, well, obviously men, but from the 40 years to 60 years, it's very common.
Yeah.
And it's also very treatable if it's caught early enough. So I wanted to do something to raise awareness. And I was sat, must have been April, May time, and the London Marathon was on. And I saw everyone running the marathon saying, oh, they're running in memory of. And I thought, well, a number of things struck me. I don't want to do it in memory of. It would be nice to see it while the dad's there so you can see what I've done. I'm not running a marathon for anyone. Full stop. That was just out of the question. So I started looking around and I saw that the Guinness record was 27.5 hours for non-stop playing. And it had stood for over 10 years. But I'd known that people have played for longer. So I thought, well, what's going on here? And I got in touch with Guinness and a lot of toing and froing. And basically, the issue was it wasn't recorded properly.
Sure.
And it didn't have the proper witnesses and whatever. So I thought, well, I can do anything for 28 hours. I could go longer. So I thought, right, okay, I'll do a Guinness World Record for pinball playing on World Poker Tour, not to get a Guinness World Record, although there's nothing wrong with that, but by doing the Guinness World Record, that's what creates awareness and publicity.
Yeah.
I was in a few newspapers and local TV, but across all of the pinball forums, because realistically, have you actually been to a show yet with
I
COVID?
haven't,
Because you're
mate.
quite new.
Yeah.
You will find Pinfest is a bit different because it's a lot more family opera aimed towards. But when you go to the competitions, it's all middle-aged men. And that's the target group
For the
basically of
prostate
who I was trying
cancer.
to
Yeah.
who I was trying to reach. So yes, so got it all set up. A lot of people in the community came to help and be witness. I had Tim, who's Stroby, did a live stream on his Twitch feed for the full duration. And I did it for 30 hours. And yeah, it was great. It was more a matter of stopping at 30 hours because I had to pack all the machines away and get it emptied out of the hospital foyer. And also, and I genuinely do mean this, to give someone else a chance to break it and set 32 hours so they get the publicity out of it.
Sure.
Rather than going, all right, I'm going to do it for 70 hours or whatever, or until I fall over and collapse. Just raise it increment by increment and let someone else have a go. So if anyone else is up for the challenge and wants to give it a go, I'm more than happy to give them what I've learned and the advice, because there's been people who've attempted it after me, and I've been on their stream and given them encouragement, but it's still my name on the website because they haven't filled the paperwork incorrectly.
Why did they? I mean, I'm taking going to the toilet's got to be an issue, right?
It's all of the marathon attempts, not just pinball, just
Sure.
anything done with a marathon through Guinness. Every hour you're doing what you're doing, you accrue 5 minutes break.
Okay.
So you could, so if you start at 12 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, you could go to the loo, and as long as you're back within 5 minutes, you can start again. The way I planned on doing it was to spend 4 hours solid. That gives me 20 minutes break, and then I can go and go for a loo, go for a wander, come back after 10 minutes, and then I've already got 10 minutes banked. So after my next 4 hours, I'm up to half an hour. The plan was to keep doing that until I got to an hour, and then I could go and have a shower, a proper meal. And the problem was World Poker Tour was overheating, and the coils on one of the drop targets, so I had to spend my break fixing it. So I didn't really get a proper break, because I was allowed one backup machine, but it had to be another World Poker Tour. But if I'd switched, I wasn't allowed to switch back. So I was stuck on that machine unless it was a terminal failure, and then I could switch over. Because you can imagine doing 29 hours and then you switch to the second machine and it breaks down before you break the record. It would have been a bit annoying. So yes, it was, if I'm being perfectly honest, it was very easy from a physical point of view. I stood the whole way, but you're allowed to sit down and play.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of the rules that they set, I actually argued with before I even attempted it. I wasn't allowed to take my hands off the machine. I said, well, when I'm playing, even in competition, my hands come off the machine just from normal playing. So they agreed with that. The witnesses had to be people expert in the field. I don't know what that means, but pinball players.
Yeah.
But also people I didn't know. The problem being, because I've been to all the shows, and we might get onto it later about the UK Pinball League, I know the majority of people who go to shows, I know, even just by face. So to turn around and say, you've got to pick people you don't know. So they allowed me one person I knew and one person who I didn't know, the kind of person that can sign your passport, a doctor or a GP. The fact that I did it in the hospital, there was no shortage of doctors and surgeons. So I got around it that way. But it's all those little kind of piddly things which aren't really relevant to the record or you're doing it, but you need to tick the box. The other alternative was I could have got an official Guinness adjudicator, but that was £6,000, which kind of defeated the objective of raising money.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
If you get a fork out £6,000 for them, but
yeah, well, it is so endurance. We did a 24-hour stream for neuroblastoma 3 years ago, something like that, and we were sitting down, and it was completely knackering, sleep deprivation and whatnot. So, and I did have a break, though. Yeah, there were two of us doing it, so fair play for doing that. You've obviously got a huge amount of endurance to do that. What is? I'm sort of afraid to ask. To be fair,
go on.
Your dad's?
No, my dad passed away 2 years ago.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Well, it happens. It's funny. He came down. He lived on the Wirral. There was bad traffic on the M6, as there always is. He literally arrived 30 seconds before I plunged the first ball. I did want to have a two-player game with him before we started, but couldn't get to that. And I was expecting him to see me doing it, go home with my ex, and then come back near the end. But he didn't. He stayed the whole way through. And he stayed up throughout the whole session as well. Obviously, he was sat down and chatting to everyone who'd come and done it. But so all in all, I raised, I think it was £6,500 with gift aid and what have you. So half of that money went straight to Prostate Cancer UK, and the other half went to the hospital, and we bought a urology scope, which took 2 years to get through all of the bells and whistles and red tape. But it wasn't about the money. Was a little bit of a help. If I'd have thought that if I raised 20 grand, it'll cure my dad or cure anyone, 20 grand would have been raised. But that's not the way it works. It's more about raising the awareness to reduce the stigma. Go and speak to your GP. I mean, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And some people have approached me and said, "Oh, what are the symptoms and what do I need to do and whatever." I don't want to get too heavy because this is a light pinball podcast. So
It is.
Yeah. So let's not. But yeah, but no, it is what it is.
Well, I think it's only fair in the comment section below. We'll post a link certainly to.
Funny enough, not Just Giving is still alive, I think.
So, is it? Well, yeah, look, give us that. We'll post that in there, and obviously we'll post a link to whatever the web page is for the symptoms, and so people can go and check it out. But no, as you rightly say, it is infinitely treatable if caught early, and you just, as with any of these things, you just got to suffer the embarrassment of going to the doctor, swallow your pride, because at the end of the day, it's going to be well worth it. If well, look, one or two things is going to happen. You'll find out you've got it, in which case I'll start treatment earlier, and you'll find out you haven't got it, in which case happy days. So, I certainly concur with that.
All good.
Moving on now, let's have a chat about how, because you touched on competition. How, before we get into that, how did you get into pinball? What was the moment where you first saw a pinball machine and thought, that's a nice bit of kit?
Right. I went to university, and they had a games room which had a couple of video games, a table football, a pool table, and a pinball machine. And I'd literally never seen a pinball machine before. And like everyone, put you 50p in. I think it might have been 2 games for 50p back then. And double flip and the ball goes down, and that's a bit rubbish. But then seeing people who knew how to play pinball, and they could trap the ball and they could flip it from one side to the other, and I was like, I want to know how to do that. So my degree side of university, let's just say that got parked. So I was going down in the morning when the engineer would come out, and I'd be chatting to him, and he'd stick me a couple of credits on to play test that everything was working, all the bulbs were right, or whatever. And then, as it happened, the guy who was in charge, the amenities rep, part of the JCR, he left, and I took over his position. The first thing I did was move the pool table into the bar, which allowed me space to get 2 pinball machines in there.
What was the first pinball machine? What was it?
I think it was Harley Davidson, the Bally one, a garbage game. It really was. And Brider Pinbot as well. And I loved Brider Pinbot because it was obviously you know the layout of Brider Pinbot, and it's basically just shoot the ramp, shoot the ramp, shoot the ramp. But I found it easy to trap the ball and to make the shot. I actually had a game that lasted a number of hours, so much so that I actually trapped the ball while I went and got someone to hold the flipper button for me while I went to the loo, and then come back and carried on. And the fun of that was getting a replay. You get a free game. Excellent. And it was 91 when I was there. So it was just at the start of DMD. So Terminator 2 came in, and that was it then. That was, whoa, not seen anything like this before. And because so much money was going into the machines, mainly from me, I might add, we had all of the newest machines, literally. Sovereign Games, who were based in Leeds. The second the new machine came in, it was straight down to Sheffield into my hall of residence. The only machine that came in, I remember Rocky and Bullwinkle came in. It lasted 2 days because I played it and went, this is garbage. Get this out of here now. I'm not putting any money in it. It's that bad. And he said, oh, well, I haven't got any other DMD games. And instead, he put F14 in. And that took more money than anything else as well. So it was playing machines through university. And then we started seeing them in the pubs. So my week was based on going to pub quizzes. There's a group of 4 of us, and we literally would go to a pub quiz before you could use your phone and cheat and know stuff. So, but we'd pub crawl to the quiz, going to every pub which had a pinball machine in, because at that time, most pubs did. And then you get into the real world and have to get a job and things like that. And then pinballs disappeared out of pubs. And it just went out of my mind altogether. And it was 9.5, 10 years ago. I was on holiday in Weymouth and walked into an arcade, and there was an Adam family in there. I thought, oh, I remember that. I put 50p in. And although the machine was a bit battered and not in great condition, I managed to play it for 2+ hours or so on the 50p.
On your 50p?
Yeah, my missus sat outside a bit cheesed off.
Sure.
So I thought, right, they still exist. So I Googled pinball in the UK, and I came across the UK Pinball League. And I thought, oh, right, okay. And there was a contact, I think it was a Facebook page I went onto, and I put a message saying, I'd like to be involved. I'm in Tamworth, in the Midlands. Where's nearby? And it was Kate, who is now the vice coordinator of the UK League, and Nick both contacted me and said, oh, there's a meeting at Terry Sullivan's in Shepshed in 2 weeks' time. You're welcome to come. And I went, what, just turn up? And it was, yeah, it's a couple of quid to turn up, and you get to play the machines, and we'll introduce ourselves and we'll have a chat. So I said, yeah, I'll be there. The next day, Mrs. comes home and said, oh, I've got tickets for Silverstone. I said, well, I've already said I'm going to the pinball now.
And Silverstone tickets are rare. They're hard to get, right?
Yeah, for the British Grand Prix. So I went along to Terry's, played a few games, met Nick and Kate, who said they'd be there, met a dozen or so other people, already friendly, had a chat. And then we started meeting on a Thursday night tea drinkers. So we'd go to either Phil's or Terry's, play their games, have a chat, cup of tea, and then swap over the next week.
So sorry, just to stop you there. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've gone from a position whereby you've seen the Addams family in Weymouth. You thought, oh wow, these things still exist, but inherently you're still looking at an older pinball machine. When you got, obviously you'd done your search on the internet, which is how you found this meeting. There must have been a point where you thought, oh wow, not only are the old machines still in existence, there's a company out there, Stern, I guess, building. There's new machines out there.
Yeah. So just to speed it up a bit, so I played there, got chatting to Terry and Phil. The next season rolls along, and they basically wanted a volunteer to be the treasurer for the Midlands. I said, go on then. I actually won that season's league, mainly because Nick had taken a year's break. He'd won everyone up until then, and then he takes a year's break. And Phil, who'd been second in every single year, must have thought, oh, I'm in with a chance now.
Come on.
And I kind of stepped in and left Phil in second place. And then after that, that person stepped down, and I basically collated the scores and what have you, and submitted that and arranged the meetings. And then a couple of years later, the UK coordinator stepped down, Greg, and asked for volunteers. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. So for the last 5 years or so, I've been the overall coordinator for the UK Pinball League. And since then, we've incorporated Scotland, Ireland, there's a Northwest, London Southeast, and Southwest. So pretty much anywhere in the country, you can go to the website, which is ukpinballleague.co.uk. It'll have the contact details for the coordinator of your region. Drop them an email. You can either get added to the mailing list, or they'll tell you when the next meeting is, where it is. And most of the meetings are people's private collections. They open up their house and you can come along, play their games, enter into the competition, and then there's finals at Daventry normally. Obviously there isn't one this year because of COVID. But it's a great introduction to turn up and play other machines. If you're thinking of purchasing a machine yourself, that's the place to find out where to get one, or the pitfalls or whatever. As it happens, I bought a machine when I'd actually been pricing up for a 6-foot fish tank. So I'd been saving up and thought, right, that's going to cost about £1,000. And an Apollo 13 came up for sale. So I bought that on a whim. And then from there, by speaking to people, I said, oh, I'd love a second machine, but I can't afford it. Blah, blah. Oh, you can borrow mine. I mean, I've had 40, 50 games through my doors. I've probably only bought a dozen of those. Others have been on loan, and I've loaned mine out. It's the way, because it's so expensive. And I hate people saying that pinballs are an investment. That you've got to realistically budget for losing a bit of money on each one. You might occasionally make a bit of a profit, but I think that's rare, and it's certainly not something you can expect, which is a lot of people get ripped off, especially on eBay, when they say, "Oh, buy this machine. It's really rare. It's only £4,000. It's always going to go up in price."
Yeah,
And the problem is they buy a machine which is worth £1,500, and then they're stuck with it, but will still try and sell it on to someone new coming in for more money, and that's what pushes prices up.
I do think there's a certain number that view it as an investment when they say it. They are aware that they're probably going to lose 200, 300, 500 quid on it, but it's still a relatively safe place to put your money in terms of you buy a car, the depreciation on that.
Yeah,
I take what you're saying about eBay and that, because it is ruthless on there.
Yeah. Well, you've got no comeback, have you? Basically, if you buy from someone that you've physically met at one of the league meets, it's a lot less likely they're going to rip you off to your face. And likewise on Pinball Info, a lot of the people who are moving machines around are known to huge numbers of people, and they do it regularly.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to get a bad reputation for selling a rust bucket, and then all of a sudden you can't sell anything and no one will talk to you. So generally, you're going to get a good deal and you're going to get what is being sold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you've got to factor in the fact that if you lose a bit of money, but you've had a machine for a year, you've had a year's worth of fun.
Yeah.
You know,
there aren't really many other hobbies where you can recoup your money or not spend a great deal for a year's play. That's the way I look at it.
I totally and utterly agree. So you're heavily involved in the competitions. You spoke about organising the competitions and how you've sort of become more entwined in the fabric of that. Clearly, you can play, because I take it those are they're pinball trophies behind you.
All but one of them. One of
What's
them's
the
a
one?
poker trophy. One of them's a poker trophy.
Okay, fair enough. So clearly, you're also very good at playing pinball, as you alluded to the fact. Poor old Phil being relegated to second place by your first attempt at going into it. Did you feel that those are the skills you've got? And I think you've sort of mentioned this, by the way. You went on Adam's Family, and you had 2.5 hours for your 50 pence. You honed those skills in the bar at university, and they've sort of carried you forward to now, and they've just stayed there.
Partly. But funny enough, with Pinfest coming up the end of this month, someone posted a link to all the reports for the previous 8-9 years that has been there. And obviously I looked at the ones that I'd been to. The first year, the competition, there was 120 odd people and I finished 70th. The next year it was 50th. It took me 4 years to actually qualify. And then I got knocked out in the first round, So yes, there's a lot of trophies, but I enter a lot of competitions. And I am a decent player. But it's not a God-given talent. It's practice and anything else. To be the best of the best, you've got to have natural ability. But I think most of the talent is basically coming from practice and playing. It used to be that I come home from work, and as much as anything else to de-stress, I'll spend 2 hours playing on the machines every night without fail. So that's where you get better. With the modern games especially, well, with all games, with the modern games even more so, the score doesn't go up based on how long you keep the ball alive. You need to hit the shot to score the most points.
Sure.
So the more different games you can play and understand the rules and what to shoot for, the more chance you've got of doing better, because you're hitting the shots to score your points. And the way you get to know those rules is by going to other competitions, basically. So there's a few venues, depending on where you are in the country. In the Midlands, there's Electric Circus in Nuneaton. Birmingham, you've got Tilt. Salisbury way, you've got Special When Lit. And then obviously Croydon, you've got Flip Out. And there's an arcade place in Bury as well. I think has got a few machines, and there's a couple of others opening up more and more. So it is becoming more accessible. But the best way is to go to a league meet, go to a competition. They're all it's not even about winning. The league meets especially. The Midlands, we might get 25 to 30 people turning up. The Northern, they're getting 40 odd people. I will guarantee at every single one of those meets, there's no more than 6 people who are predominantly focused on the competition.
Sure.
It's a social event. Admittedly, I'm one of those 6 people, but even then, it's going to meet friends and talk about a hobby which you're all there to enjoy.
Well, and I think that's a great thing about pinball, and even myself, so I've been in. I don't know. COVID has made it really hard to sort of get a grasp of time. But I think about 3 years since I owned my first machine, and I've already made a number of good friends through pinball. Good friends. I could stay over their house, they stay over mine. Trust them with a machine worth £6,000, and they internal trust me, and it's an amazing thing. And I do think there's a massive community to it. I did want to ask actually, because I thought earlier on, when the people with collections host the meetings at their house, even though I understand what you're saying, and not that many people are focused on the winning of it, and there's a community to it, is there any home advantage? Do you find they perform better in their own environment with their own machines?
I've hosted once. I only had 3 machines, and I borrowed machines to fill it in. It was one of my worst performances.
Okay.
Because you've got people who are there, and it's, where's the toilet? Where's the food? Where's this? You're just generally focusing on other things. There's a couple of people. Generally speaking, most people perform the way you'd expect them to perform. There's a couple of people who've won, but they've been decent players anyway. It's not like, oh, he's only won because it's his venue. What makes it even... Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Funny enough, I've just been reading a thread on the American one about tournament directors, competition organizers, entering the competitions that they run. And someone came on, I won't enter a competition if the organizer has also entered. These people haven't a clue. As to the amount of distractions that you get from running a competition, people coming saying, what's the ruling for this? If there's a ball stuck, you've got to go and sort that. And say, oh, well, you've played all the machines. You must know yourself, even in a short length of time. After you've given the machine a polish, it plays completely differently.
Yeah.
If you move it 6 inches and it's on a slightly different level, everything bounces. You imagine sticking it in a car, bouncing it 150 miles down the motorway, setting it up, then having a couple of 100 other people play it over the weekend. It's a different machine to the one you've been playing at home. So there's not much of an advantage to the people who are bringing machines and donating them, because it's so variable. Yes, you might know the rules, but the ball will bounce differently or run differently. I think I've only ever actually won 2 competitions that I've run, and I've run well over 50 now. My percentage for winning is definitely better in ones where other people are hosting.
I can understand that.
You can just focus on your game. If you have a bad ball, whatever, you can walk away, have a breather, come back, nice and relaxed. You can turn up when it's your turn to play. You don't have to be there first thing in the morning, leveling all the machines, setting them all up. I mean, I'm taking 3 machines from my house, 4 from someone else's house, and 1 from someone else. So the last week, I've literally been ferrying mine from Walsall to Shepshed, which is 50 miles each way, then over to Leicester to get all the machines in one area to be able to get we're actually bringing them in a bus rather than a truck this time.
Brilliant.
So we're going to have all the machines coming down in one hit. But that's 400 miles and 4 nights I've spent already just in preparation. That's before the time of making sure everything works and all the switches, and because there's nothing worse than a competition where the machines aren't in good nick. Hopefully, everything will run very smoothly next weekend. It's getting close.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And you know what? There's so much. It's not just pinball. It's anything. Any hobby where you try and do something competitively, be it the guy next door to me who runs the local football team. That's a complete labour of love for him. You know, he's out there, putting the cones out and the bibs. He's doing it twice a week. It's just so much of his spare time goes towards doing it. And he'll hire a minibus and drive the kids 30 miles up the road, bring them back, and he's right off his weekends basically by doing it. So I think when you're in a hobby, there's so much dedication that certainly goes into it, and I'm sure I'm sure all the machines will be in great nick. Before we finish up, there's a couple of things we got to do. We need to discuss, and you need to tell me. Hopefully you've prepared for this. The greatest shot in pinball.
I've thought about this.
Yeah.
The favourite single shot to make and deliberately aim for and make is the snicked shot on Deadpool. So that's from the left flipper, hit the stand up and bounce it up the ramp, and that gives you double play field or triple or quadruple. And it's such a great feeling to do that. I do like bank shots. There's certain machines where you can go for a shot, the gem shot on Tron, deliberately shoot it off the O drop target, and it bounces around the gem rather than having to hit it off the little flipper. But the best shot has always got to be the last shot in a 6-way combo or something like that.
Sure,
you've got everything set up. So yeah, the snicked shot is the greatest. The cleverest.
It is a very, very good shot. I'm not sure because of the way you've downloaded this. It's a shame. I will put it on there for those that haven't seen it. I'll edit it into a video at some point. I seem to spend most evenings trying to hit that shot. Definitely. The trouble that I find with that shot is actually I get so dialed in to trying to hit that shot. At some point, you need to hit the Wolverine loop into the Berserker Rampage or whatever it is. And I'm so tuned into hitting the snicked shot, I hit to the right and can't make the loop, and then it sort of pops into that bumper and and starts off a mode or pops into collects of weapons. So yeah, I'm not far from mastered that, but I keep persevering. But it's right on my level, that game, as I've said on many occasions. What's your favourite game?
Whatever game I'm playing.
Really?
It generally. I was going to say there's no such thing as a bad game, but there's a couple of machines which I've walked away from with credits on. Led Zeppelin being the most recent.
Oh, really?
I was excited. Anytime there's a new machine, whether it's a Tilt or Electric Circus, I'll dash over there, and I put £2 in, got 5 credits over at Electric Circus, and I walked away with credits on there.
Why? What did you like about it?
It was boring. It looked ugly. Most machines, when you step up to them, and start playing, there's some indication of what you need to do or what is going on. I just didn't get anything. I know it's on early code, but I really don't think that code's going to be able to save it. I know others will disagree, but that's the beauty of having hundreds of different machines to choose from.
Yes, yeah.
We've all got our favourites and we've all got our worst. Favourite is probably Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so many different strategies and ways to attack it. Infinity Quest has got that as well, but it suits my style of play too well. it took me 32 games from new inbox to get to the wizard. Admittedly, that was on limited code, but every time new codes come out, I've got to the wizard mode very quickly. So it might be on the chopping block first.
Well, it sounds like it might be. I couldn't. I had it here when it goes up into the magnet.
Yeah,
I can't remember which Doctor.
The Iron Man Town Doctor Strange spinner.
Him, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch, Magna Lock, I like to call it, and it drops it down, and then you've got to hit it off the flipper. I'm just too slow. Oh, I just missed it again. I really struggled with that, and I was trying to anticipate. I think it's going to drop it now. It's going to drop it now, and yeah, that is just beyond my skill set.
It gives you sound cues. The first time you do it, it gives you a sound cue. The first and second time, it gives you a sound cue. The third time, there's no light, no sound to hit it for the third marksman award. That's when it gets really hard.
Well, if you ever see me dance, and you might if I drink enough beer at Pinfest, you'll understand that I've got no rhythm. So that sound cue wouldn't have been able to do anything whatsoever. Let's just before we finish up, have you got a dream theme? Is there something you'd love to see? I understand you're waiting on whatever Stern have got coming out next.
Whatever Keith Elwin does, I don't care. There's themes which, I was thinking about this as well. The reason music pins do well is because there isn't a set of scenes, if you like, which need to be included. If there's a film pin, it's they've missed that bit out, or they haven't got that bit in. So I think music pins do well. I'll play anything. I'm not fussed. It could just be white, as long as there's light flashing every now and again. I'll give it a go.
Apart from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, apart from Led Zeppelin.
Well, you're gonna have to play it in a competition, aren't you? Coming up.
It's almost certainly I'll get drawn it. It's all completely random when you get to the final.
Of course it is. Unless you're the director, of course.
Yeah.
Then you get, as the man on the forum said, then you obviously get 4 balls on your favourite machine. But
yeah, it'd be a shame if Led Zeppelin failed.
Yeah, sabotage it. Oh, poor old Neil. Anyway, listen, Wayne, thank you so much, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Please do come on again and join us after Pinfest, and we'll have a little chat about how everyone's got on. I'm going to enter and have a go because
that'll be great. I'll probably be a little grayer after the competition, but you and anybody else, I'll be at the competition desk along with Paul for most of the weekend. Come along, say hello, have a chat.
And how do we enter? Just quickly tell us if you don't mind, please.
Give you your money there at the desk.
Just go to the desk, give you money, say I want to enter into the tournament.
Yeah, it's all very easy. It's literally pay your money, £10 for your initial entry, £5 if you want additional entries after that. And you play your games and we record your scores, and it's all on the web and based around there, so everyone can see how well you've done.
And add a small contribution towards the Semtex to blow up Led Zeppelin, obviously.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can fix that,
mate. Just hang back there a second while I'll speak to you just a second. But thank you very much, Wayne. Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Again, it's an education. I keep on learning stuff. It does not stop. I'm really looking forward to this. Hopefully, for those of you, because I know there's a few people on the forum. I noticed Carl posted today on the forum that going to Pinfest for the first time, which allow him to actually play a machine before he buys one next time. Although I've got to say, Carl, looking at your lineup there, mate, you picked some pretty good machines, it has to be said. So hopefully the buzz is building for people like myself who are going to Pinfest for the first time. Really looking forward to that. Thank you to Wayne. I'll try and get at least another one of these done. So if you're on the list and you've said that you want to be involved, do prepare yourself for a sort of random late call from me as I'm panicking, saying, please come and join me on the podcast. We'll try and do one more at least before Pinfest. Please, I'll put the link in the description below to the prostate cancer not only the website where you can check out the symptoms, and also if Wayne's Just Giving page is still live, the link will be there if you want to chuck a couple of pennies into that, rather than the pyrotechnics fund to blow up Led Zeppelin. I do think we should at least keep it intact. So maybe if Wayne is as good a player as his trophy cabinet suggests, maybe having Led Zeppelin there will give us all at least a fighting chance of competing in it. I'm probably going to have a go myself. Thank you for tuning in once again. If you could please stick a thumbs up on the video, and if you can, subscribe to the channel, share it on your various pinball platforms. It'd be very much appreciated.